Welcome back to another interview night, Spotlight Interviews. I am your host, Melanie Browning, and tonight's guest will be joining us shortly. As soon as he jumps on, I'll invite him into the room. Sean Robert Smith. Yeah! And let's see. Oh, another Sean is in the house. Hello, Sean Dillingham. Welcome. Thank you for being a guest on previous as well. You're amazing. Great acting coach as well. All right, Mr. Sean Robert Smith is in the house. Let me get him in here.
There we go. What's going on,
There
Sean?
we go. Hey, what's up?
Oh, a whole lot because I'm here reading your bios. I've read them before. Let me just fill in those that maybe don't know you, the two people out there that don't know you. Sean here, right now he's joining you from his acting profile, and so that's why I've asked him on the show, but he's got more going on here. So he's a dynamic actor with incredible emotional range, also a poet, songwriter, speaker, author, prolific creator, and a serial performer. And that's, I'm like really just kind of just painting the picture. I know a lot of people out there can like put a lot of things up there, but you're legitimately like, these are I remember I've followed you for a long time before the acting stage, and I think it goes back to like Lisa Nickel times when I first got into Lisa.
Okay.
So that's where I first started following you, and then I know when I finally caught on to the acting thing, or I think because it's a little bit more new for you there,
Yes.
that I was like, yes, awesome. Like, it's just when the worlds collide, it's
For,
beautiful.
for sure.
First of all, oh, David Rice is like, I know that guy.
David
He
Rice,
messaged me. He
the
messaged me
man.
earlier, giving you so much street cred earlier as well. So, first of all, welcome.
Thank
I'll
you,
I'll take
Melanie.
a breath.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I've seen some of your interviews before, and I think you are you're the truth. You're authentic. You're real, and I just really appreciate you for the work that you do and the commitments you have to have these conversations.
Well, thank you so much. You have been on my wish list for a very long time, and most of the guests that have been on it is a thing. And finally, you did a live the other day that absolutely caught my attention. I'm like, okay, it's time. It's time. I need to like, because it's so rings so true. Do you want to kind of share a little bit about that? And like, you could like give as much or as little of that as you want, but just kind of give a little, insight into the acting world.
Of course, yeah. So I went to a live audition, and I walked out of there, and all actors that have ever walked into live auditions, I'm sure you have some version of this, your own story. It's just weird, right? It's weird. The first time I went on a live audition, it was so strange to see the other people, and almost invariably they like look similar to you,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like, well, there's like five other bald guys with beards in
Yep.
here, and you're the competition, right? We're the people that are trying to beat each other up, and so it was just very strange. And I don't know that it's gotten any less strange. There was only one other guy that was sitting there, and I knew he was reading for the same role, and and I'd rehearsed quite a bit, but I got into the room, and I felt like I pretty much owned, like, my body and what I wanted to do, and all of that. And then for whatever reason, she, as I always do, right, go ahead and read the lines and we'll make some adjustments. And and I just walked out of there, and I was like, God, I suck. I mean, like, not just suck, but epically suck. I'm an embarrassment to this whole
Mm.
craft, right? Like, if anybody would have watched that, they would have just told me, like, keep your day job, and get another one, probably. And I just had such an awful feeling. I felt, yeah, I felt embarrassed. I truly, and I'm not joking. Like, I'm
Yep.
not I'm not embellishing this. I mean, I just felt horrible.
Hmm.
And so I thought, let's do a live while I'm walking the streets.
That's
So,
not what most people think at that time. Just so you know, just that's not maybe the normal course for most people.
yeah,
So,
probably not, but whatever. I'm a, glutton for punishment as I cross the
well, it's a good
street in LA.
process. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's
Right.
not where most people go.
Yeah, exactly. I do actually appreciate, I have a lot of thoughts that just come to me as I'm talking live. And so I pulled out my phone and, you know, I start talking about it and I share all that stuff that I just shared. It's like, this is terrible, epically bad. I forgot a line in there, and I don't think I've ever forgotten a line. I don't know that I've ever forgotten a line on set. Maybe on set a few times, but never in an audition that I can remember. And I forgot a line, but that's not what made me like, that's not what made me feel self, you know, conscious or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was just everything else. And, you know, it's like, I did the second, you know, I did the second take, and she's like, okay, great. We'll, you know, talk to you later. And it's just so cold. And I know that's what it is. I know that's what they're supposed to do. Like, I know all this stuff. It still sucks, right? Because I wanted
It's
her
so
to go, oh my God, you're
raw.
amazing.
Yeah, it's
It
so
is.
raw. You
It
like
is.
just left everything out,
It
and then
is.
you already have the thing going, and you're just like, I'm gonna pick myself up and
No, what
sneak
she's
out the door.
supposed to do is she's supposed to turn to the person next to her and be like, okay, cancel all the other auditions because this guy's got the role, right? Like,
Yeah.
tell all those people outside, tell them to go home. And not only did she not do that, she's like, okay, thank you, bye-bye. And even though I
You
know,
gotta thank you.
I don't know, I might have made that up. So anyway, as I'm processing it, I'm just thinking, you know, okay, I feel bad, but I also know that when we care about something and we have a creative mind, you know, the creative mind has an infinite opportunity to critique. There's always something that we could have done differently. And I think that's what my mind was doing. Like, I could have done this, I could have done this, I shouldn't have leaned in as much, I should have changed my voice. And my mind was just critiquing the whole thing. And, you know, that's uncomfortable. And for me, I think it's uncomfortable for a lot of people to have their performance critiqued. But my performance was being critiqued by the inner critic, you know, the self-abuse room, as I call it. Like, it was just hammering me. And it wasn't letting up. And so finally, like, it did help, to your point, just talking about it. And then I was thinking, okay, well, you know, this is creativity and it only sucks because I really care. And if I didn't care, then I wouldn't critique it, and it, you know, wouldn't matter to me or whatever. And so then I'm just gonna, you know, I'm just gonna be in this place. And then I look up and there's like a sign for a Waffle House or whatever, and then I want to go eat a waffle.
Food.
Right. So I think I said something like, you know, I'm gonna think I'm the world's worst actor for the next 3 minutes. I'm gonna eat one of those waffles, and then, you know, and then I'm gonna go on to the next audition or whatever it is.
That was like my quote of the day. I was like, I so relate. I do this.
Right.
I need waffles. Yes.
Yeah, and I killed that waffle. And but another realization that I had was that I hadn't applied like a mental lens to this audition because it was so fresh, that I've learned to apply, which is basically, you know, if you had it to do all over again, what would you do different? Because if we can learn a lesson, then at least our brain can go, okay, well, we learned a lesson, you know, even if that audition sucked, even if we don't get the role, next time I'm going to go in and just do something, whatever, do something more risky, do something bolder, you know, just I'm going to learn a lesson. And so as I processed that, I think I was literally crossing the street as I was processing. I just thought, actually, I wouldn't change a thing. So I had this weird realization where, like, simultaneously I was beating myself up, but at the same time, I actually wouldn't change anything if I went back in and, you know, had to do it all over again. And so it was it was a bit of an uncomfortable moment. And then a day later, you know, I get a message and says, you got the role.
Those are always the kickers, right? You're over
So
there just
dumb. So dumb. I was just talking to David about this a few weeks ago. Like, the times that I've been in an audition and thought, I might be the world's best actor, actually. Like, I might get an award right now for this audition. I never heard back from any of those roles, right? Anytime that I thought I did well, I almost never booked those roles. But I would say at least half the time that I think it was awful, I booked the role. So it's like, I mean, creativity is so subjective. And it's such a mental game, you know, and we just got to find a way to enjoy it. We really, truly do. Because if you can't find a way to enjoy it, like, it's just going to be miserable.
Absolutely.
My man, June.
You got some people
Love this guy.
joining in here.
Yes.
Yep. We love you too, David. David says love you both. Definitely amazing actor there as well. So
Oh, so good, so good.
and just going over the different, things I see on here, you have over 75 short films. And so I've got my notepad. Tell me how you do that, please.
Yeah, I would love to share this. So what I did is just what I was taught to do, and I don't mean to sound, smug or anything like that, but I was actually in class with June, and it was the first time. Like I'd always kind of wanted to act, but I didn't know how, and I just thought, once you act, you got to go into all these auditions. I didn't understand the self-tape world. I didn't know how COVID had changed it or any of that sort of stuff. But I was in an acting class with June and my son, and just learned like the actual mechanics of putting a profile up on Actors Access Backstage, get an Instagram account, create a website, and just how do you put the assets together, and then you just start, submitting roles or submitting for roles. And so I submitted, and I'll always remember this. I got cast in a background scene where I just had like a facial expression, right? And I must have practiced like 3 days, like trying to go, huh? Like I act surprised when the lady turns into like She-Hulk, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going on set and just feeling like it was so cool, but it's super awkward. I didn't know what to say to anybody. I didn't know the language or anything. And but I just remember thinking, these people get to talk, and like hopefully one day, like one day I'll be able to say a line, right? Like I just wanted to say the line. But it was such a cool moment because it was my first, and I got paid, I think, $25 for it.
Your
So
first,
like
and
I
you
was
got
a
paid. That's
professional
awesome.
actor
Yes, day one. That's how
for
you do
this,
it.
just for this background role. But truthfully, Melanie, I mean, I just kept submitting to roles. So, but my goal was just to get on sets. So at that time, I wasn't trying to get any particular kind of role. I was applying literally to every single thing that came across. I was applying to it because I just wanted to get on sets. And I also knew that I have to take some lumps, like I got to get out there and I got to fail, and I got to, do some of these auditions, and got to get comfortable being uncomfortable and all that stuff. I remember one time I was still living up in Ventura County. So I was like an hour and a half away from USC. And I got an audition, a live audition for a student role at USC for a part that I didn't even want. I knew I wasn't a good fit for it. It was so awkward, but there was like this little voice inside that said, you need to go to this live audition just to fail in person. And it was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to go, fail in person. So I go in there. It's like a 90-second audition. And, and these kids, right? I mean, I got kids that are older than these people, right? So I had these little, forgive me, I'm being playful here for everybody, but like these little snotty-nosed kids telling me that I'm not good enough, right? I'm sitting in front of these little youngsters, and they're like, nope, we're not going to cast you for my film. But I knew I needed that for whatever reason. And then they asked me, like, they gave me an opportunity to improv a little bit. Like, what would your character do? And I just totally bombed it. But I froze. I don't even know if I said anything. I don't know. But there was just this feeling that I got walking out. Like, I can still remember, it's lodged in my brain as I walked through the courtyard of USC. Because I failed this role, I'm going to get another one, like, because of this failure, right? Like, I needed to get this out of my system. And then I think maybe the next week I was like at almost that exact same room at USC, for another live audition, and booked that role. So throughout the year, one thing I've learned, and I've known this for years now, is how important embodiment is. And that's one of the things that I teach in my in my main work, right? Like, just to embody not just the character, but to embody, being an actor, being on set, understand everybody's role, understand your role, and to just get comfortable, in your space, in your skin, and taking risks, and, and ad-libbing or making choices or whatever. So anyway, back to your question, I applied for everything, and I took everything I possibly could. But then what happened is, I mean, it's all about, as I think all of you who've been on the acting journey know this, but I guess I just didn't know how important it was. It's all about getting footage and then just, constantly just massaging your assets, constantly
Mm-hmm.
getting better and better and putting your package together. And I just remember I booked a role as an officer. I think it was some background officer, but I took a picture, cell phone picture, and then I put that up on my profile. And then I booked like two more roles as officers. And it was like,
Because they can
because they saw me in
see
a
it
uniform.
now. Yeah, they're like, oh
Like,
yeah,
so
prop
simple.
material because
Right.
there's a picture of him. Yeah.
And so I realized how important it was for them to see us in the role and not, like us to submit our cover letter and be like, I could really play this role, right? It's like, here, watch me in this role.
Yeah.
And so then
Absolutely.
I started to get a little bit more intentional with certain roles and just updating my footage. And I don't know, I think I probably booked a lead, I'd say maybe 8 months in or so. I
Mm-hmm.
booked a lead role and just like loved it. I was super uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because now, like, the lights are on me and I'm actually like the lead guy, and
Mm-hmm.
I was so uncomfortable. But like I said, yeah, I mean, I needed that, and then the next time I was a little less uncomfortable, right? And now I can look back at that footage from like 2 years ago, and I can see the uh, I can see my evolution. Like I can
Mm-hmm.
see my discomfort, just like oozing out of my skin, and I can see that I wasn't really fully, embodied or certain. But it's just so all, it's all part of the process. And then here's a fun twist that my career took. I booked a role that called for a father to have a beard, and so it said in the listing, like, you have to be willing to grow a beard or keep your beard or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I didn't have a beard. I never had a beard. But
I
I
remember
grew
your
it.
old that's the shot I remember. It's like just clean.
I haven't had a beard since I was a junior in college, and me and my roommate had a beard growing contest. But I grew the beard, and it was a role like 2 months later,
Mm-hmm.
the time to grow the beard. But as I was growing the beard, I was auditioning for all these other roles. And it seems to me like because of the beard, I just started getting booked for darker roles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first time I played a villain, because that the first beard role wasn't a villain at all, but I played a villain, I want to say maybe a couple weeks after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, this is
This
fun.
could be fun. Yeah. Yeah.
This could be really fun. So then that caused me to really start to explore all these other characters that I never would have seen myself play.
That's all.
And now, like, I really enjoy the the exploration of myself as a person, to find me inside the character, to find the character redemption qualities or what have you. But yeah, to like put a bow on your question, I just did what I was told, but I did it over and over and over and over and over and over again, and just kept getting booked. I don't know.
Well, I love that. You do what you're told. The information that you have, you go with it. And as you're doing the thing, and at times at least feeling like, and sometimes actually failing, you're doing it and you're finding these little doors open and finding more of what you like and moving toward that and onto that, and that's where the beauty kind of unfolds. So
And it's a mental
I love
game.
hearing
Like,
that, man.
everybody knows it's a mental game, but I don't know that everybody really fully knows really fully understands how much of a mental
Mm-hmm.
game it is.
Well, and I think there's something freeing in like how you told about falling flat on your face. There's something, just, it's a gift in it. Like when
Yes.
when you are in your arm, like I remember a speaking thing like that totally reminded me of a time where I just flat out and it was like a 4-hour thing that these poor people had to listen to me talk for 4 hours. It was miserable, but it was so freeing. And my very next one was like so much better because of it. It's you have to keep going, like beyond that failure.
Yeah, and you have to find a reason to keep going. I think what makes acting so hard is, I mean, it's just a perpetual, journey of, am I good enough for you, right? Like, I'm gonna submit my package, submit my profile, and you tell me if I'm good enough for a callback. and then I'm going to do a self tape, and you tell me if I'm good enough, or I'm going to, come into an audition, and you tell me if I'm good enough. And then even on set, like, okay, act, 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 act. Did you like it? Right? Did you like it? It's just
Yeah.
this perpetual, journey of judgment is really what it is.
Yeah.
And so we have to find other sources to inspire us rather than other people's approval or
That,
rejection.
yeah. Like, I love the fact. So when I was really young, I was into acting, and I felt so beat down by the live
Yeah.
auditions in LA, and I just like felt, so tiny. And when I got back into it, it was, different area, different, all sorts of things. But I had someone point out that I'm sure was told to me earlier, but it wasn't ready for it. And it's like, there's so many other things that it's not just you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Like, that's a
Yeah.
huge part of it. You need to learn and train and hone your craft. But that's, I think, as the actor, that's all we're thinking about.
Yeah.
Where it could be your hair color is too close to the lead. You guys look too much alike, and so we can't use you. You know what I mean? Like, it could be someone had a bad day, and you remind them of their, spouse or something.
So
Just,
that
yeah.
right there, the story that I heard that has stuck with me the most is a similar story to what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a casting director said the best acting I've ever seen was in an audition, and the actor didn't get the role because, like, he reminded the director of her ex-husband or something like that. It was just that simple.
Oh,
it was that simple.
So bitter.
Right?
It's so cold.
But by
so
far
cold.
was the best actor.
Wow, that's hard. That's hard reality right there. It really is. But and I love, like,
at the same time, it's like liberating to a degree, because then you can you can judge your performance by taking risks, right? And so what I try to do is, if I take a risk, then I've won, right? And they might not like the risk, and that's totally fine. But I can walk out and go, okay, I did something bold. I took a risk. I did something that I wouldn't normally do, and then, like, we can have a self-container of our own approval, our own, attaboy, attagirl,
like
good
that.
job.
I like that.
But we have to find another source than their opinions. Otherwise, it's just going to be nonstop misery. And at some point, it's probably going to be too much for most people. It's like the human brain is not wired to nonstop get rejected and to just mull over it over and over and over again. So you got to get yourself off that train. Otherwise, it's just going to be an exercise of misery.
Absolutely. Very well said. And with that, we went right into the acting, but I do want to reflect on many of the other things that you do. And, like, I think my big, like, the questions I have are like, how, because, you've written a book, you're a transformational coach, you're a speaker, you've done at least 2 TEDx's, I think, on spoken word, and, an activist, and are these, I think the biggest thing is, are these things that you've had on a list, like, these are the things I want to do, or has it been a progression as you accomplish something, or, like, you follow the path? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't contemplated that. The only thing I think that was on the list was to write a book. And I've wanted to write a book for 20 years. And, when I wanted to become a speaker, motivational speaker, and eventually I got into coaching, like, that's just one of the things you do, right? You write a book. And I started to write several books and didn't finish, any of them. And it took a while for me to finally get my book published. I don't have one with me. I don't know why I don't have one right here with me. But the book that I published is on the father-daughter relationship, and it's super sensitive to me. It's called Daddy, Are You Proud of Me? And it's based on so much of my life coaching work, really, with a lot of women, and self-esteem. And I just learned how important the father's relationship is for the woman's self-esteem, for the daughter's self-esteem. And so it took 10 years for that book to finally get done, finally get published. But that's the only one I think that was on that list. And all the things that you mentioned, written a couple songs, done some TEDx talks, I do a lot of poetry now, created a whole spoken word film in 2020 with Lee Nichols. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah.
I did.
But all of that actually, like I never was into poetry. I didn't like have this big
Wow.
acting goal or
Sorry,
anything when I was
that
younger.
the poetry part just caught me by surprise. Sorry, go
No,
ahead, because like
no,
I see
that's
it everywhere. I see it
yeah, I
everywhere. Oh
appreciate
yeah.
that. But here's when it all happened for me. In 2017, I wanted to, I'd always, well, I don't know about how long I had this goal to do a one-man play. I just thought it would be fun. I took a couple acting classes like in college or whatever. And I've been speaking for a long time. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been up on stage in front of, a bunch of people for a long, long time. It's like, I got that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, well, I'll just do a one-man play. It'd be pretty easy. Just go up there and tell some stories, tell some stories about my dad and a lot of stories that I normally taught. So anyway, I hire a woman and she starts, like pulling some of the stories and the early phases of putting a play together.
Mm-hmm.
And after the very first assignment, I hear this voice in my head that says, "Oh, this is going to be about our mom." And I was like, absolutely not. It's not going to be about our mom. It's going to be about our dad and our childhood and playing baseball. That's what this is going to be about.
Ooh, the
And
truest moments.
yeah,
Ah.
and that voice is like, okay, yeah, that's cute. This is going to be about our mom. And I resisted that voice for at least 2 solid days, because my mom had passed away, I think 7 years earlier, and I didn't tell anybody. Maybe not seven, maybe like 4 or 5 years earlier, and I didn't tell anybody because I had such a bad relationship with her. One way, it was just me, just verbally abusing her. Now I can look back and know that I was just projecting all my anger onto her. She was a safe target that wouldn't punch back. And so I just, I unloaded all my anger on her. But when she passed away, even though we had had a very healing conversation a couple of years prior, all this guilt was in my body and I'd shoved it all down and I wasn't telling anybody. My dad had died a year before that. And literally, Melanie, 9 days later, I know it's 9 days because I just saw a video recently of me telling the story on Jack Canfield's stage. And I realized like that's 9 days after my dad died and I was telling his story.
Wow.
Right. And so like
Wow.
turned it into this signature speech and all of that. But when my mom died, I suppressed it all. I didn't want anybody to know about it. So because it was like, and I had kids at the time, already. And I'm like, what I was afraid of is for people to know the kind of monster that I had inside of me, right? Like I didn't want my kids to know who their dad was and maybe still is. I don't know. Like I was just so afraid of having that come out. So anyway, once I surrendered to the voice, I ended up writing a one-man show, and it's me and my mom. It's me and my mommy issues just being processed on stage, and it was like the hardest thing emotionally that I've ever done, but it was also the most beautiful thing that I've ever created because it just flowed right out of me. It was like so sacred, the creation. And I'm pretty sure the moment, like from the very first word written to opening night was 90 days.
Wow.
I mean, it
Wow.
just flowed. It's a 90-minute show too. I mean, it's a long show.
Yeah, that's.
And so the beauty in it is, I'm playing myself as this teenage monster that I don't want to let anybody know I used to be. But then with just a shift of my weight, I'm playing my own victim, which is my mom. And it was the most cathartic, healing thing that I've ever done. I mean, I was literally crying her tears and I was feeling her pain. Like I knew this is not my pain. This is not mine. These are not my tears. And so diving into that just unlocked something inside me. That was the first time that I ever written anything like creative. And then after that, it was like, oh my God, I just started thinking in poetry. And the first poem I wrote was like a 15-minute poem on toxic masculinity. And then, just like, and then the TEDx talks. And so there was this creativity that didn't get unlocked inside of me until like 7 years ago. And then everything else exploded. So virtually all the stuff that you mentioned that I've done has been just within the 7 years as my creativity has just become
it was
just
there.
Unlocked.
It was waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just suppressing it so much. And I think we're all creators, right? We might not create the same way. We might not sing or dance or write poetry or act. or write, screenplays, but we're all creators. And I think part of our journey should be to be introduced to our innermost creator and let that little kid out, let that little kid create, because the world needs what they have inside.
Absolutely. And I what I'm hearing from that, like the big part that really resonates with me is listening to that voice. Like, because we all have that in some shape or form, I believe.
Yeah.
And that and it kind of, what's funny is it kind of clicked to like one of Lisa Nichols talks about how, like, she's like, you ever argue with God?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of one of those moments, like, you get this message and you're like, I don't really want to, but it's like it's telling you, like, this is it. I think so many times we
Yeah.
can shove it down or ignore it, and a lot of people do. And I think we all have, even when we know that that voice is gonna do something, sometimes we're like, not yet. So
It's terrifying. Yeah. I think what makes creativity so scary is that it's sacred. I mean, it's literally like, this is my baby, right? Kind of, because that's what a creation is. This has been super helpful for me. The definition of creativity is essentially bringing something into existence that didn't exist before. And so if you are creating something, you are putting something into the world that didn't exist before. So it's like your baby, right? You're putting something out there and going, hey, do you like it? And it's terrifying. And the more that the more real that creation is, the more vulnerable showing other people is going to be. When I did that first poem, actually, that toxic masculinity poem, again, like, it's like 15 minutes long. And I had a YouTube channel for a long, long time. I've published so many videos on my YouTube channel. Like, I don't have any problem. I've been speaking on stage, been doing all this stuff. When I pushed send to send an email out to my list of people with that YouTube video, on the other end of that email, I just burst into tears. I just started crying. And then I, like, canceled everything that I had that day. And I just walked around and was just in my own, vulnerability. There was just something about, like, but I've taught a bunch of stuff, and I've been on a bunch of stages, and I've done a ton of Zoom calls and all that stuff, but I never shared this part of my heart before. Right. And I was just terrified. And it was so interesting how I clammed up. But I think that the thing about creativity is, like, because it's bringing into existence something that didn't exist before, then the thing that you have to, like, that I think your soul's calling is, to bring out is unknown, because it doesn't exist yet. And I think one of the things that stops a lot of people is the lack of knowing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think what stops, I don't know, maybe most people most of the time is the three words, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this is the right thing. I don't know if I should, submit this clip or that reel, or get this manager, or, or if I should keep acting, or if I should start acting, or whatever. It's, I don't know. But I think the thing that really shifted my mind a few years ago, and I don't remember where I learned this, is that creativity begins at the phrase, I don't know. Because when you hit that phrase, I don't know, that means you are at the boundary of what you already know. Mm-hmm. And if there's something that you already know, you're not creating. You're just regurgitating, because you already know that, and it can only already be known if it already exists. So it's having the courage to step beyond that line of I don't know, and then the curiosity to just go, well, let's create it then, right? And it's I don't know that makes it any less vulnerable, but for me at least, it like shifts into, like, instead of, oh my goodness, I'm going to go off the cliff and get hurt, it's, oh great, the boundary stops here, and now I get to go off map and build my own thing that that the world doesn't know. And maybe it'll be fun. Maybe it'll be something that that's revelatory for me. Like, you just got to change the source of inspiration to something. But I just we need more creators creating in today's world, I think. And so I honor anybody that's willing, whether it's showing a drawing that you did, or sharing 3 bars of poetry, or singing and dancing, or going into a contest. Like, just create and never stop creating.
Absolutely. I love that. And it does, it opens up, when we expose ourselves and allow ourselves to be vulnerable. I think it changes a lot of things, the narratives in our head of what we expected to happen.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily lessen it for the next time, but it really does open our eyes to different views of the world. That's at least in my experience of, so it also opens a part of our heart.
Yeah.
So that when we see other people doing it, it allows for that connection. So it helps heal. It helps heal the world.
It helps heal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, just what you said, I think, is really important too. It gives other people permission sometimes, and they might, I always use the analogy of like a lighthouse, right? And it can be sort of a cheesy analogy, I guess, at times, but the lighthouse can't see the boats out in the sea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us won't turn our light on unless and until we see the boats. It's like, if we see the boats and they tell us, hey, if you turn your light on, I'll come to your shore. Then we're like, okay, I'll turn my light on. But the lighthouse shines its light simply because it's a lighthouse. And whether there's boats out there or not, doesn't matter. It's a lighthouse, and that's what it does. And so I think we can use that idea and apply it to us. Like, a creator creates because they're a creator. A teacher teaches because they're a teacher. Not because there are students in the seats telling you that they want what you have to teach. It's because you can't not teach. And I think there's something inside of all of us that our soul can't go to our grave holding on to. And that's the thing that I think we need to tap into. And then reverse the fear, right? The fear of, what if I don't get this out of me, right? Then what? And I think most creators that have turned this into, almost like an essence of just creativity, are people that are more afraid of keeping it in than letting it out. Right?
Yeah.
Letting it out has consequences. Yeah. Keeping it in has bigger consequences.
Oh, just, yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what was the saying that you said, as far as like when you were talking about the narrative in your head? I forgot. I'll have to go back and watch it, because it
earlier.
Yeah, early, like at the very beginning. At the very beginning, you use some sort of terminology. It's like, oh, I like that one. It's like, just basically,
I was talking about how I was in my self-abuse room of my mind.
Yes, I love that one.
And most of us are, we spend all our time in our self-abuse room, right? It's like the vault, and we go inside there, and all that happens is we abuse ourselves with scary thoughts and what ifs and all these doubts and whatever. And then the problem is, we demand that we get internal approval from the self-abuse room.
Yeah.
It's like, let me go to my biggest critic, and then I'm not going to take this out to the world until my biggest critic says, it's okay, you can go ahead and share this thing. Mm-hmm. And I just think, anything that is emotionally safe to share is probably not valuable.
I like that.
So
absolutely.
So find the courage and take the step and submit the tape and do whatever you got to do. And like you said, there's always a lesson to be learned.
Yep. And listen to that voice that's telling you to do the thing, because I already know something that like that one's like, you helped me call myself out on something, so that's super helpful. And I love scary as hell. It's so scary.
So here's what I believe. I don't think I've applied this to acting, but in the world of like personal development, speaking, coaching, the thing that is probably going to make us the most amount of money, and it's not about making money, but making money is a function of being valuable, right? So the thing that's going to make us the most amount of money is the thing that's going to be the most valuable to other people, is most likely the thing that we hope nobody ever learns about us. It's most likely the thing that we are terrified to share. that's probably the thing that is the most valuable for other people and will make the most amount of money in the acting world. That's probably the, like, whether it's a character to play or a piece of yourself to touch, or just to, to liberate your body so that you can be more, just free flowing in your character and more authentic. It's that thing that we're probably the scaredest to do or say or share, that will actually create the biggest amount of success financially and emotionally.
I've got
and
these
it's just a matter
butterflies.
of time.
You got my butterflies like swirling and scared, and
yeah.
That's what I feel from you. It's like, absolutely, you're spot on. So any of you out there watching, and whatever it is that's scaring the crap out of you, and as you hear Sean talk, you're like feeling the juices flow. Go do that.
I think there's there's a I don't know, scientific explanation or energetic explanation of that. Because if you, so I got this little rag here, right? If this is like a wet towel or a wet rag, if I'm going to wring this out, I have to turn it in opposite directions, right? One side needs to go forward and the other side needs to go back. And as soon as there's enough tension, the liquid will come out. I think the only way for us to feel tension that you're talking about is there has to be opposing forces, right? There has to be something saying, don't you dare let this out. But that has to be opposed by something saying, I must get this out. So anytime that we have that tension, I think we can deduce that there's a soul's message inside there. There's a soul calling, some kind of emotional obligation. Otherwise, you wouldn't care enough to have the tension, right? Yeah. So sometimes I think we just need to surrender. Okay, I might not know what this voice is. It might be the first time I've heard this voice, but the only reason for this activation to live in my body is something is trying to get out that I'm desperately trying to hold in. And then what would happen?
And that's
if you just let it out.
Drama, right? That's exactly that's what they say. For the actor, it's find that thing, that opposing force, and find that, because that's what's interesting to watch.
Yeah,
right.
That's the conflict, right? And that's the only way we grow. There's no such thing as conflictless growth.
Absolutely. I love it. Moving forward in the acting.
Yeah.
Is there anything for you that you're like, okay, I've got my eye, that's the next thing? Is there a place that you're going, or you still kind of I know you've found different niches that you enjoy. What's next for you?
Yeah, well, the next process goal for me is to really dive into vulnerable acting classes. The ones that scare me, the ones that I think I've got that same activation, right? I've gotten to the point now where, I don't mean this in any way to sound like egotistical or anything, but I've gotten to the point now where if I'm on set and I'm the lead role, I'm pretty comfortable. And so I think I've hit a ceiling of comfort, and now I need to get uncomfortable again. And I can find that discomfort in risky roles, or just doing things, just taking bolder risks inside the characters, or of course, for myself inside of however I'm going to, share my art, whether it's in acting classes or doing more lives. I mean, it could be something like this. So I think that's a process goal of me, is to get uncomfortable again. I haven't taken an acting class in a couple of years, and I can feel myself just getting comfortable. So that's a process goal, and I would say more of an outcome goal. I want to go. I personally just want to choose your cliche, just jump off the cliff, right? I want to go for it. I want to go all in. I'm inspired by Sean, who just joined here, and David, and people that are doing this full time, and I want to get representation, and I want to just start going after bigger roles. And I don't even know what that looks like right now for me, because that is around a corner that I've not peeked around yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I can feel the activation, and I can feel the fear. And so I know that's like, oh, that's calling me forward, right? Everything that we were just talking about, right? That's calling me forward, and really get uncomfortable again in like a major, major way. Because I got uncomfortable about, I'd say a month ago, when I just realized I'm not growing like I want to. And so it was like the heat on the stove top, like I was sitting on the burner, and I just realized it's hotter sitting on this thing and not growing than it is going for it, right?
Yeah.
And so I just had a moment of like irritation and a little bit of frustration, a little bit of anger, but it was all in a
Call yourself
positive
out.
combination. Yeah. It was all like in a positive combination of let's go, push. So so I don't actually know what that looks like, but for me it's just more of like a commitment, a level of commitment for me, and just see where it goes, like trust in the growth process.
That's what
And
Sean says. He says, just keep grinding and doing your thing, buddy.
Yeah.
It'll happen. Yep.
Yeah. Sean's
Absolutely.
a huge inspiration.
Oh man,
and
everywhere.
I'm not active. Yeah. I'm not active with Sean, but we just did a table read together, and just immediately, like, I just respect your craft, Sean. And of course, yeah, I see him.
He's
It's
fire.
like every single story, every single day is on a different set. And,
different
dang.
State, Chicago,
Yeah,
Arizona, LA.
exactly. Yeah.
That's how you do it.
And I get really inspired by people that just have the courage to just go for it. As simple as that sounds, like just go for your, go for what lights you on fire.
Well, I'm going to be checking back in with you because you mentioned acting class, and it sounds like you got something in mind, something that's scaring you. So I'm going to offline get with you. Like, all right, did you sign up? Who'd you sign up with? What you got going on?
Yes,
I will
tell you.
up with you. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So where's the best place? Your SeanRobertSmith.com, is that right?
Yeah, there's already a couple Sean Smiths in the entertainment world, so I had to use my middle name. So Sean Robert Smith, that's the Instagram. I think in my bio I've got links to the other places, Actors Access and Backstage and IMDb and all those places. But Sean Robert Smith is like it. That's my acting creating name. And all the other stuff, I've been Coach Sean Smith for like 18 years.
Yeah.
So that's like my moniker in the speaking and coaching world.
I think that's why it like literally took me a minute, because I'm like, the branding was working. I'm like, wait. Oh yeah.
Oh, got it. When I tried to join here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, no, not on here. I meant like when you transition into, or when I at least started seeing the actor part. Yeah. It like, yeah, that's the same person. Oh, cool. That's the realization. I was so happy. Like, yes.
That was actually a big deal for me to create an Instagram account only for acting.
Yeah.
And that was like a kind of a step in the serious direction, right? Okay, I'm going to commit to this. And has been so fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. I just I can't even put into words. It's been so fun. That's
wonderful. You're an absolute inspiration. So thank you for sharing your knowledge and your vulnerability behind the stories that really people know of themselves and they're not sharing, but that's okay. Not everyone has to share those stories, but thank you for sharing that, because the honesty there lets us know, like, oh my goodness, I have an inner monster that I don't want other people to see as well. And now hearing you say something like that, like, oh, okay, someone else has that, you know what I mean? And what can be, taken from that. So thank you for being so open and honest. It really does help hear someone else in the footsteps. So that, like I said, that live is what, like, okay, I'm going to call him right now because this is just really connecting with me. So
yeah. Well, I appreciate that a ton. And and it did resonate with a lot of people. And I think it's really helpful, like you said, to know what's going on inside people's minds. Yeah. Like if our thoughts were visible, it could be dangerous in other contexts, but if our thoughts were visible and like we could see how much people are doubting themselves,
Mhm.
even people that we think have it all. You know,
Mhm.
the inner game is not too different, you know, from one brain to another, regardless of what we've achieved. Like, we always have things to compare our life to, and things that we've fallen short on, and, you know, stuff that we wish we did, and stuff from our past. And, you know, we're so much more similar than different, in especially in the creative journey. So I do think it's so important to have these like vulnerable conversations, and I appreciate you doing these interviews, and I'm honored to have been one of your guests. Thank you, Melanie.
Yay. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Everyone that's
absolutely.
watching, make sure you go and check him out, follow him on Instagram, and yeah, just cheer him on. And he's an amazing coach too, so you can pick up
Thank
so
you.
much goodness there.
I'll
So,
be talking to you
all right,
all
Sean.
from another crosswalk after an audition sometime soon, I'm sure.
One night you're like, hey, I actually feel good about myself on
Right,
this one.
right. And that's when I get ghosted. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sean. You have a great night. And everyone for tuning in, thank you so much. Have a beautiful night.
Thanks, Melanie. Take care.